Welcome to Shorty Supercoach. Going to take a look at the Pies in a moment. Just go through a few of their players that I'm looking at. A few locks, breakout contenders, risks. Guys, no chance for my side. Hope you track along all right. The cricket's going nicely for all the cricket fans out there. That includes you Langers. I know how much you love your cricket, mate, but I reckon we've got the Indians here. It's great to see Smithy come back and dominate. Green, he looks pretty handy as well. So I think we've got about 8 wickets to take tomorrow, and we should do that absolutely easily, I would say. So looking forward to that. In terms of Collingwood, there's not a stack that really jumped out at me. There are a couple of players that I think will occupy our minds a little bit, but the lock was a tough one. Initially I had Steele side bottom, but I probably think it's more Brodie Grundy. I think Gawn is just insanely expensive, and a lot of people will go with him, and fair enough, but I just always get a little bit concerned because Gawny's so injury prone and just unbelievably expensive. And I think Gawn and Grundy can average about the same. Grundy, seemed to carry a bit of weight with the ruck load and seemed to be not fully fit at times. Still averaged ridiculous scores, really. But if you look at his AFL fantasy versus previous years, it was much down. Not as much in Supercoach, but it just shows he probably wasn't winning as much of the ball. So I think he'll be back in business. As for Sidebottom, we can get him in the forward line and you'd think, geez, just snap him up. I reckon we probably should, because he'll definitely be a top 6 forward, but I just wonder, we've got a lot of good forward options. You got Danger, you got Martin, you got Marshall up there as well. I feel like I'm forgetting a couple others there too, but a lot of guys that are really good options. And you're probably getting Sidebottom at his very top. He averaged about 109 last year. And previous seasons were 94, 101, 96, and then 106.2 in 2016. So I think with Treloar leaving the side, clearly Sidebottom won't be going anywhere. He's a class mover. They need him in there, that's for sure. So I wouldn't be expecting, just because maybe he's more of a veteran these days, I wouldn't be expecting a drop-off. But that 109, we might be paying absolute top dollar, but I'll let you guys work that one out. But I think Grundy will be in stacks of sides, and fair enough too. In terms of the risk, I've gone with Jordan De Goey. A very interesting player. Of course, this has risk written all over it, but there'll be a time where this bloke just tears the season absolutely to shreds. And I just mentioned Treloar. I think it ties in a little bit with that too. There's probably other guys, which I'll mention in a second, that are probably better candidates to fill the role and fill the void left by Treloar. But, De Goey's a guy that clearly would be looking for a bit more mid-time, I think. We've seen him average 87 in back-to-back years prior to 2020. Last year he averaged just the 81 points. He had that massive game, I think it was against the Cats, where he kicked 5 and scored huge. Otherwise he didn't do too much. We've seen him run through the midfield and look pretty good. He's got that explosive ability, which reminds us a lot of a Martin or a Petrarca, and he tends to get into that mould of thinking too. I think De Goey, all the talk is he's having a great pre-season. Who isn't at the moment? Every article you read, and De Goey's just that general catchphrase sort of guy where everyone's looking for what he's doing and just expecting him to explode at some stage. But I think he will at some point. It wouldn't shock me if it was this year. There's a reason he's in the risk category. It would be extremely risky move. Of course, you can get him as a forward. He's a little bit cheaper than other years. And we've seen Petrarca go from about 80 odd average to 117. I'm not saying he's going to do that, because I don't think De Goey will ever be a pure mid. I think he's always going to play a bit forward. But one day he'll average 100 and he'll get the 3 figures one day. So I'm sure we'll be picking him at some stage throughout the year, or in the career anyway. Whether it's this year, not so sure, but he's a risky one if you're feeling gutsy and you like to go, well, maybe you roll those dice. In terms of a breakout contender, I've got Braden Sear, not sure. But we've seen him play inside mid and love it, but just not get the opportunity, whether it be through injury or other guys in front of him. Last year, averaged 73 of about 3 games, but we've seen him produce big scores. We've seen him average in the 80s. We've seen him ton up a number of times. Big-bodied mid. I reckon with Treloar going, he's certainly a guy I'll be putting his hand up. I'm not sure if he is down the pecking order a little bit. I'm sure a few Pies supporters out there might be able to give a bit more of an insight as to why he missed a lot of footy. I know he's been injured. I'm not sure what the exact go was throughout 2020, but he's a guy that I feel at that sort of a price we've got to consider. It would be a touch risky as well, but I just think he can win the inside ball. He can tackle hard, and there's opportunity there. So just got to keep him on your radar. And Josh Dacos is a guy as well. I think we've seen almost a mini breakout when he lifted his average to 82, which took a considerable increase. And then I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him increase that again. We're not going to be picking him, but I just wanted to throw him in there. And similar to Isaac Quaynor, I think he'll be a guy that we talk about as a real good option in Supercoach in the back line at some stage. 75 last year, but we saw some really good signs. I'm not so sure I'd be recommending him this year, but again, just put him on the map. If not for this year, down the track, and maybe he could be a guy you snap up in your draft team as well. No chance for my side is Jeremy Howe. Now, he dominated early last year, didn't he? Averaged 120 off like 5 games. He was flying. So he's going to be pretty pricey. Of course, didn't play too many more games after that injury that just set him back. I'm not exactly sure where he's at with that injury, but there weren't too many other Pies that really stood out to be absolutely no chance. And I just thought, some people might look at Howe's numbers and go, gee, he could produce some of that again. But I just wanted to put him out there. Like I said, there weren't too many other guys that really stood out that were relevant to say, nah, don't go near him. But yeah, that was just Jeremy Howe for mine. I don't think we'll see him replicate anywhere near those numbers again, in my humble opinion. But pretty short and sharp one today for Collingwood. I can't see myself picking too many more players from the Pies other than Grundy in terms of, there might be some rookies floating out there as we get close to pre-season. But off the top of my head, I couldn't see too much that really excited me. A lot of guys that you're probably paying exactly what they're worth. Not too many other guys in the forward line defence that really excited me. So I'll be interested to watch their pre-season. But at this point, probably Grundy and thinking about side bottom, but not stacks else. So let me know if I missed anyone, if there's anyone on your radar from Collingwood that you like. But I'll be back soon to take a look at the Bombers, and I'll do a bit of other stuff as well for Supercoach Talk, which will go on my channel, go on their website as well. So check them out if you're not aware of them. But I'll be back soon. I hope the weekend treated you well, and I'll chat to you later. Cheers.